There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
Welcome to another episode of Blood, Gore, and Ghouls Horror Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Van Ghoul. Before we get into it here, I just want to apologize. My voice is a little fucky today. I've been a little under the weather the past couple days. I finally kind of came back a bit, so wanted to get an episode in. So if you hear any weird sounds, coughs, sniffles, or demonic voices, just don't pay attention to that. But moving on here, for only $3 a month, you can support us at patreon.com/BGG podcast. Shout out to Ghoulie Julie. Thank you for your continued support. We are, of course, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Discord. Be sure to follow on all social media. Stay up to date on everything that we are doing with the podcast. Of course, if you're listening to the audio version, please hit that follow button, download our weekly episodes, and give us a 5-star rating. If you have any feedback, questions, fun facts, or a topic that you want us to talk about on a future episode, or if you're an owner of a horror business and you're looking to sponsor some horror fanatics, or if you are Mr. Rob Zombie himself, please send us an email at bggpodcast@gmail.com. So last week, Mrs. Ghoul was here to talk about killer couples. We got on the subject of the Firefly family. Now that sparked an idea in me, and I said, fuck it. Let's have Mrs. Ghoul on again for a back-to-back episode, and let's talk about all of Rob Zombie's movies. So here we are. Welcome back, Mrs. Ghoul.
Get over here!
My wife.
Flawless victory.
Welcome back, babe.
I am not here on my own free will, everybody. I am chained out of this chair. No, I'm kidding.
Wow.
Hi, welcome. Welcome to me.
People in the comments, blink twice
Like,
if you're in danger.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, I just keep blinking. And what do?
I can't stop blinking.
Instructions unclear. Hi again, everybody.
Hi.
It's another week in paradise.
It is.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Why don't you deliver your news? So let's get to it.
My news.
Yeah, isn't that what you're going to go on to next? Isn't
Scary
that
movie news.
Scary movie news.
So yeah, some horror movie news for this week. So Megan 2.0 has been moved from the January 17th, 2025 release date and pushed back to May 16th, 2025. No other details have been announced, no reasoning why. If I were to take a guess, January is typically a month for movies that they're not quite sure of to be released. Not really too confident in them. So they put them in January because there's not a whole lot of big releases. So I would say either they don't have, like, they need more time to work on it. Because as far as I know, there's not really like a script or anything really to it yet. I could be wrong, but I haven't heard anything about it. So either they need more time or they're more confident in the sequel. So they're pushing it back to May, where typically bigger movies are released. So could be either one, but again, no details are out there. So as details come out, I'll let you guys know. So there are rumors floating around of a possible new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that would be titled Texas Chainsaw Legacy. There's also a rumored plot. So the plot is the film is set to explore the seemingly peaceful facade of Oasis Oaks, a gated community in rural Texas. Within the manicured lawns and vigilant security, a protagonist family enjoying suburban bliss becomes entangled in a harrowing battle for survival as they confront the infamous Leatherface and his macabre kin on an abandoned property nearby. So, again, that's rumor.
Pause there. I believe you accidentally read Oasis Aches and not Oasis Oaks.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just wanted to correct that. The beautiful, peaceful facade of Oasis Oaks, a gated community.
Okay. Yeah, my apologies.
So people wouldn't be too confused. Because at first I was like, Aches? Was this supposed to be acres?
Aches?
And then I read and I was like, that says Oaks.
Well, thank you for that.
Demonic voice. We're going to blame it on that.
Yes.
Go on.
I'm a little fucked up. So yeah, all rumored, nothing official. But I don't, another Texas Chainsaw I'm kind of into. Like, there's not many good Texas Chainsaw movies.
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
No.
But even the ones that we've gotten, it's always a fun time as long as Leatherface is involved. The last one that came out on Netflix was bad, but Leatherface was cool and it was super brutal. So all the kills were really cool. So as long as they have like a decent story, because that's what killed the Netflix one. Like they tried to do the same thing as Halloween 2018, brought in Sally for no reason. Her character was trash. Basically the whole story was trash, but Leatherface and the brutality was cool. So as long as they can,
brutality.
Yeah, right. As long as they can have they have somewhat of a decent story and keep all the awesome violence and blood and gore, then I'm all about it. But our next bit of news, Steel City Con will be April 12th through 14th. Unfortunately, it'll be the final time that it's at the Monroeville Convention Center. So news broke this past week that apparently the people who own the convention center are going to be starting in June, leasing it to Hobby Lobby for the next 12 years. So as anything else, Hobby Lobby ruins everything. So this will be the last one at the Monroeville Convention Center. No idea where it'll go from here. They are planning on still having the rest of the cons that are planned. Just not sure what the venue will be. So hopefully it's a bigger venue because they have outgrown the convention center. But at the same time, if they have it in Pittsburgh, it's gonna suck because parking will suck, traffic will suck, and I'm sure they'll have to raise all the prices. So it all kind of sucks. So hopefully they can find somewhere outside the city again to have the con, and all will be well. But as far as this upcoming one, April 12th through 14th, guests go. We have John Carpenter, who I'm very excited for. I missed him last time, so I'm definitely want to get his autograph here this time. Susan Sarandon, Ernie Hudson, Juliette Lewis, Hayden Panettiere, who I wouldn't mind meeting, and I don't know how to pronounce her name, but Yadi Amje, who is Ma Petite from American Horror Story Freak Show, as well as Deborah Messing. I know Deborah Messing's from, Will and Grace? Is that what she's known for?
Yeah, she's done a ton of stuff.
She has, but that's like her big thing.
One of the big ones, yeah.
I always think of Mothman Prophecies.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right?
It's a good one.
So,
Isn't that Richard Gere with?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Richard Gere. Some horror guests. So we have Sophia Lillis, Wyatt Olaf, and Jada Martell, who play Bev, Stan, and Bill in It Chapter 1, which is cool, but not really interested in meeting any of them. You know, if it was Bill Skarsgård.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. But the kids, I mean, it's cool, but probably won't go out of my way to try to meet them. We also have almost a full Breakfast Club reunion.
Yeah. So
we got
awesome.
Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, Ali Sheedy, and Judd Nelson. Missing Amelia.
I know.
What's up with that?
Bum skis.
Yeah, right?
And one of the ones we went to, it was the one that we met Christina Ricci at.
Mhm.
Anthony Michael Hall was at that one.
Yeah. Evil dies tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Really no interest in meeting him either, but
No.
you know, it's cool. It's cool to see them from afar.
Yeah.
And of course, then the big reunion is Beverly Hills 90210. For anyone interested out there, we got Jason Priestley, Tori Spelling, Shannon Doherty, Jenny Garth, Gabrielle Carteris, Ian,
Yeah.
fucking douchebag, Ian Ziering, and Brian Austin Green. Of course, Ian fresh off his fight with the mini bike gang. You see that?
No.
That was probably like a month or two ago. I don't know where he was at, but there was.
Oh, this is like a true story.
Yeah,
He fought mini bike gangsters.
Yeah, it was a gang of like dudes on mini bikes,
bikers.
and they stopped and just starting to beat the shit out of them.
Well, you know,
Probably
that's
for
kind
all
of
his,
hilarious. Like, how
Sharknado
embarrassing.
work.
How
Yeah, right?
embarrassing. I got beat up by a bunch of mini bikers.
Yeah, I think he got away. Like he like kind of was running away.
Did the
but yeah.
Sharknado come and pick him up?
Maybe.
Nah,
I was
bet.
thinking it would have been better if they all had shark fins on their helmets.
That would have been awesome.
But yeah,
How embarrassing.
I am.
I got beat up by a bunch of mini bikers.
I'm sure he beat them all up.
Well,
He's a tough guy.
I mean, he can
With
beat
a
up
name
sharks.
like Ian.
He can beat up sharks.
Yeah. But I'm on the lookout though. When I go to this con, I'm on the lookout for a like VHS of Stab. So like the fake movie in Scream. If I can find one, if someone makes one and I find it, I'm gonna have Tori Spelling sign it
Okay.
because she plays Sydney
Yeah.
in Stab. I think that'd be a cool little thing to have. But yeah, that's Steel City Con. That was most of the guests. You can find the full guest list at their website. But finally, there is a House of 1,000 Corpses tabletop game that is in the works from Trick or Treat Studios. It'll be an officially licensed cooperative tabletop game that'll be funded through Kickstarter. No other details, but want to throw that in since it is related to our main topic. So, getting into our main topic, here we go.
Dr. Satan.
Behold! Fish boy!
What's that about clown business?
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
I'm Michael Myers.
These are the eyes of a psychopath.
Open wide the gates of hell and come forth.
I ain't no fucking clown.
Who is the real Captain Spaulding?
Goddamn, boy, could you get more dramatic? I'm just a clown dancing for the fucking man.
If there's one thing I know, is that the rest of the world melted away as soon as you appeared in my life.
So tonight, we are talking about the movies of Rob Zombie. Now, whether you love them or hate them, you're always guaranteed to get some white trash characters, some terrible dialogue, and of course, brutality. So Rob has directed 9 films and 1 trailer that we'll talk about tonight, but has been attached to a handful of movies that never were made for one reason or another. So I've added those in here as well. I try to get them as accurate as possible in the timeline of things. So let's get into it. So long before Zombie's filmmaking debut, indeed prior to the release of his seminal debut solo album, Hellbilly Deluxe, the rocker was attached to a then second sequel to the 1994 supernatural revenge film, The Crow. So according to a report in Variety, The Crow 2037 was to be less of a revenge meets superhero style movie and more in the horror vein. Of course, the premise of The Crow from 94 is that a man and his fiancée are murdered the night before their Halloween wedding, only for him to return from the grave a year later to exact revenge. So the project never got off the ground for unspecified reasons, and sequels to The Crow have been tossed about for the better part of 20 years. It is worth noting that The Crow already has 3 sequels now at this point: The Crow City of Angels, The Crow Salvation, and The Crow Wicked Prayer, as well as a 1998 TV series called The Crow Stairway to Heaven. And of course, this year then it is expected that we'll get a new adaptation of The Crow graphic novel that is starring Bill Skarsgård as Eric Draven. Pretty excited for that one. I know there's a lot of hate out there for the Crow remake, or whatever you want to call it, readaptation, because it is based on a graphic novel because of the whole Brandon Lee situation.
Makes sense.
But I say, fuck it. Bring it on, because, I mean, The Crow is a good movie. I mean, I like it. But it's not the graphic novel. It's not really anywhere close to the graphic novel at all. So I get that everyone holds on to it because of Brandon Lee and his death. But if we're going to compare it, it's compared to the graphic novel, not such a great movie. So I say,
yeah, I mean, it's like it's good in its own like standalone, right?
But yeah, to be like anti ever making a Crow movie again,
yeah. But yeah, that's just the life of remaking anything. Haters gonna hate. People gonna love it. Whatever. I don't really give a shit or listen to people like that or read shit like that. If I want to watch it, I'll watch it.
That's right. Fuck it. So Rob Zombie's first movie, House of 1,000 Corpses, in 2003. So 2 young couples traveling across the backwoods of Texas, searching for urban legends of murder, end up as prisoners of a bizarre and sadistic backwater family of serial killers. So yeah, first movie. What are your thoughts on House of 1,000 Corpses?
Oh, I love this movie. I love it. I think it's great. It's 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 so kind of like outlandish of a movie that the gore and everything is almost comedic. Obviously, the lines are hilarious. Yeah, I mean, it was well, what year did it come out? 2003?
2003, yeah.
Yeah, I think I watched it right at 2003. So being the first movie of his to be released, I was like, oh, this is great. I can't wait to see what's next. So yeah, I don't know. I just really liked it because it pulls the funny, the gore. You know, the setting is like the 1970s. So it's like, well, obviously this didn't happen. So when I watch a movie that's kind of set before our time, it to me makes it a little less scary, and then you're like, oh, this is hilarious. Like, so yeah, like Fish Boy.
Oh, I love Fish Boy.
Like the funniest shit ever.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think Jimmy and I talked about it one of the times he was here, but I want to say we watched it together for the first time, and I wasn't a fan of it the first time I watched it.
Okay.
Can't really say why, but I don't know. I just wasn't. It's just one of those things, like, depending on where you are in life and how old and what's going on in your life at that time, if you watch a movie, you might not like it and then revisit it later and you love it.
Absolutely.
Or vice versa. So that's kind of how it was. Like, I just wasn't into it the first time I watched it, but then I ended up watching it more times and then over time just loved it.
Yeah.
So now it's probably my favorite of his movies. But yeah, with one thing with Rob Zombie is obviously he takes influence and you know, puts little kind of, not Easter eggs, but little nods to other horror movies and things in his movies. So there's obviously the main part of this movie is a nod to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
But he always gets the best, like, horror actors in his movies. Like,
yeah, he does.
Like there's many directors that use kind of the same cast for the most part, like Kevin Smith, Mike Flanagan. But Rob, other than his wife, he always has like this group of other actors who, you know, we know for the most part from other horror movies.
Right.
So I'll just go down some of the cast here real quick. So of course Sid Haig as Captain Spaulding. Karen Black is Firefly.
Firefly.
I can't say Firefly. But I'm sick apparently. Bill Moseley as Otis. Of course, Bill Moseley. Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw 2. Sherry Moon Zombie is Baby. Robert Allen Mukes is Rufus. That was the one I couldn't think of last time.
Okay.
Rufus is the older brother. So he's the one with the tow truck.
Okay.
Dennis Frimple was Grandpa Hugo. Matthew McGorry as Tiny. Walter Goggins as Steve Nash. Goggins is fantastic. Chris Hardwick as a chunky Jerry Goldsmith. I know the first time, again, I knew of Chris Hardwick. I didn't know him the first time I watched this. And then he got like kind of big in podcasting and like tech stuff. So then I knew who he was.
I don't know who he is.
But then I went back and watched this and I'm like, oh shit, it's Chris Hardwick. He was a host of a dating show in the 90s on MTV. I forget what it was called, but I'm pretty sure it had fucking Jenny McCarthy was like the
I
co-host or some
can
shit.
Envision it, and I'm
Singled Out.
Yes,
that's what it was.
I was like, I can totally envision like the like the commercials. What do they call those? Like that, you know?
Yeah, like the
promotion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, Chris Hardwick is the other guy with Rainn Wilson.
Okay.
In the group of the four. Rainn Wilson, obviously as Bill.
This is young Rainn because this is pre The Office too of 2003. Not long before though.
No, but yeah, definitely younger Rainn Wilson. Aaron Daniels is Denise Willis. Jennifer Jostin as Mary Knowles. Tom Tolles as Detective George Waddell. Of course, Tom Tolles was from Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. He was also I can't remember his name, but the guy in the basement in the remake of Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, most of these people have been in other horror movies for years before this. Harrison Young is Don Willis. He's Denise's dad, and this is another thing I appreciate about Rob Zombie. So Harrison Young is the same actor who plays old Private Ryan in Saving Private Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing the exact same clothes.
Oh,
in this
really?
Movie. Yep. Yep. So he looks exactly the same.
That's funny.
So it's just like those little things that it's just like, I get a kick out of. And then Michael J. Pollard is Stucky, and he is the guy from Scrooged. So he's in the beginning of this movie, when the robbers bust into Captain Spaulding's place. But yeah, he's the guy from Scrooge that like freezes in the sewer. And Bill Murray's like yelling at him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to kick out of seeing him in that too. But yeah, House of Thousand Corpses was it's so fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, it starts as kind of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre type deal. But then just each of the family members are just so like over the top. Sometimes annoying, but I just like them all. And of course Captain Spaulding. Liked him since day one.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it just kind of turns into like this, like after the kind of chase scene, it just goes into like this fucking dark tunnels and fucked up medical experiments. And,
yeah, the whole house is just like insane, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. So that's House of Thousand Corpses. So
I really think it's actually probably just Rob Zombie's house.
No, his house is a little cleaner than that.
They just changed the lighting. No, it's not. Just shush.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. This really just was his house, and like, we'll just darken it up a little bit, throw a little bit of this and that, and we'll just film it in the house.
It.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with that.
No, because didn't they do like an episode of Cribs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I was thinking that earlier. Yeah, his house is fucking. I'm sure he has a different house at this point, but
no, he probably has like 15 houses at this point. Who knows?
I don't know if he was. I feel like Rob Zombie's just a kind of one house guy.
I don't know. I feel like he might have East Coast, West Coast house at least. They probably have a European home somewhere for vacation.
Well, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, I need to look up that episode because I remember he had the coolest shit in his house, and I remember his like fucking wall of horror VHS movies.
Yeah. And he had like I remember he had like a coffin, but a really detailed, pretty coffin that Sherry probably is really the one that picked out, but it was like in their dining room or something. I just I can remember the flash of that in my brain.
And
it was a lot brighter of a house than I expected to.
Yeah, right.
It was like, well, I think he just said, Sherry, you do this. I want nothing to do with that. Fair enough.
So it's 2 years after House of Thousand Corpses, we get The Devil's Rejects. So it's the murderous backwoods Firefly family take to the road to escape the vengeful Sheriff Waddell, who is not afraid of being as ruthless as his target. So one of the things that always comes up from House of Thousand Corpses to Devil's Rejects, and it was something I've wondered forever, I finally kind of found the answer. Otis is albino in House, and he's not anymore in Devil's Rejects. So in my research today, I found out apparently Rob Zombie did this because he felt the albino look was too cartoonish and was out of place in the grittier sequel, which makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I always wondered why it was like that. But yeah, there we go. So as far as the cast here, of course, Sid, Sherry, Bill, and Matthew McGrory all return in their characters. Mother Firefly, though, is recast. So this time we get Leslie Easterbrook. The reason for the recasting is that Karen Black wanted more. She wanted more money. And unfortunately, Rob wasn't able to do that. He had a very tight budget. So he couldn't bring Karen back, but we got Leslie Easterbrook, who I prefer.
Yeah, I liked her. This one's my favorite movie.
This was my favorite for 15 years, at least. Lately, though, House has inched its way back up to number one. But I love them both, really. So then Rufus is recast. So Tyler Mane is Rufus in this one. William Forsythe is Sheriff Waddell. Dave Sheridan is Officer Ray Dobson. If you don't know who Dave Sheridan is, he's Doofy from Scary Movie.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Lewis is Roy Sullivan. Lou Temple is Adam Banjo. Brian Posehn is Jimmy. Ken Foray, of course, from the original Dawn of the Dead, is Charlie Altamont. Danny Trejo is Rondo. Diamond Dallas Page is Billy Ray Snapper. E.G. Daly is Candy. Tommy Pickles.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember the first time I watched this, and I was like, that voice.
Yeah.
And it's her like moaning and like acting out like this like over the top sex scene type shit. And I was like, that's Tommy Pickles, and I'm kind of fucked up right now.
And Bubbles.
Yeah, right. And Bubbles.
Powerpuff Girls.
Yep. And then Michael Berryman from the OG Hills Have Eyes.
Is it Bubbles?
She's one of them. I don't know.
Now I'm going to have to look it
I'm
up.
not sure. But Michael Behrman from The Hills Have Eyes is Clavon, and Daniel Roebuck is Morris Green. So, of course, yeah, this is a darker, grittier, more realistic sequel. So, of course, at the beginning, all the family's together. There's a big shootout. So, essentially, we're left with Captain Spaulding.
She was Buttercup.
Buttercup, okay. So
I should have known that. Sorry.
Captain Spaulding, Otis, Baby, and then Tiny is around, but not really a part of the main movie for most of it. But yeah, this one is, like I said, it's gritty, more realistic, way more brutal.
Tiny dies in the beginning.
No. Tiny dies at the end.
It just makes it look like he dies in the beginning with the fire.
No, that's the end.
Is it?
At the beginning,
beginning.
Tiny's dragging the naked corpse. He's the one that sees all the cops roll in, so he never goes to the house.
I was thinking the fire happened when the cops showed up. That's at the end, huh? They come. It's been a while since I watched it, even though it's like my favorite one. But
yep, yeah. And then there's the infamous end scene with the three of them in the car and the big shootout. But there was a deleted scene that would have had Rosario Dawson as a nurse, and Dr. Satan was going to make another appearance. And he ends up like fucking ripping out her throat. It was pretty gnarly scene, but Rob Zombie ended up cutting it because he wanted the more realistic route. So he didn't want any Dr. Satan or anything. But yeah, Devil's Rejects, probably the better of the two. But yeah, I really enjoy Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, I really like that one a lot. Great music.
Yeah.
Everything. The story was really fun. I was really actually disappointed that you didn't put it in your little sound clip. The Don't You Think We're Fucking Funny? Or is that from the first one?
No, that's Devil's Rejects.
That's what I thought. And then Tutti Fucking Fruity, you missed that sound clip too. I mean, there's like two of my favorite parts.
Sorry.
I was like,
a lot
really?
of clips to go
really?
through. Yeah.
Tutti Fucking Fruity. It really kind of brings them into this, like, where you feel for them as like normal-esque people. Like they just want ice cream and like they want their dad to get them ice cream. And you're like, oh my God, I can relate. And then you're like, these people are psychopaths.
Right.
You shouldn't be feeling for them. But that's the whole point of that scene. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is one of those movies. Like they're doing terrible things, but you're like almost kind of rooting for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you want them to get away and exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that. Like I said, Devil's Rejects has been one of my favorites for many, many years. It's still up there for sure. Right up there. House just, right now, a little above it. So then we go to Grindhouse. And there was a trailer that Rob Zombie made for Werewolf Women of the SS. At this point, this is only one of two trailers that have not gotten a full movie.
Is this one of the trailers that's in
Grindhouse?
No, what? Okay. What are the two? Death Proof and...
Yeah, Death Proof and Planet Terror.
Yeah, is this one of the ones that's on Planet Terror?
It was.
It's playing on the TV.
Between the movies.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I got you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So when they were released in theaters,
about all that. Yeah.
They had all the fake trailers.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one has not gotten a full feature-length movie. But yeah, it was Rob Zombie's fake trailer. It's a send-up of 1970s I can't speak. Nazi exploitation films. Yeah, that word. But yeah, it was just a quick little couple-minute trailer. Had Udo Kerr, Sherry Moon Zombie, Tom Tolles, Bill Moseley, and one Mr. Nicolas Cage as Fu Manchu. It was a really fun one. I was hoping that it would get a full release, but it has not. We just got Thanksgiving, which I'll talk about more in another episode, but not what I wanted. So maybe one day we'll get Werewolf Women of the SS. So then, our first dividing movie in the community, I would say, is Halloween from 2007. I'm going to take a little drink here real quick. So, after being committed for 15 years, Michael Myers, now a grown man and still very dangerous, escapes from the mental institution and immediately returns to Haddonfield to find his baby sister, Laurie. So, yeah, this is, of course, a remake of John Carpenter's original. And yeah, a lot of people like to shit on this movie. I like it for what it is. Now, Halloween, John Carpenter's original, is at this point my favorite movie. So I don't think this one's better than that. But I think Rob Zombie, when people do remakes, you want them to stick close enough to the story, but also make it their own. And I think that's exactly what Rob Zombie did.
Yeah. I mean, the first one's not horrible. I mean, I would say I get more people say that about the first one than the second one, which you can get into next. But yeah.
Yeah, I like it. My complaint would be the white trashness.
But that's all his movies.
It is.
So
it kind of it goes with that.
That's making it his own, really. Like,
but that's
white trash family. But that's his thing. So
I mean, I get it, like to come from that background for this movie, but I do enjoy it. Like, I like seeing the backstory of Michael Myers. I just liked it more in the original, where obviously we don't know anything, but it's like he's not white trash. It's just like a normal family.
Yeah,
I think that's more scary than someone where you like kind of suspect they might be.
Could be. I mean, I think people have the judgmental side of like that can go hand in hand, but white trash people aren't psycho either. So,
right.
You know.
But it's like one of those like kind of bad upbringing.
Yeah,
not, like take the white trash out of it just in general. But yeah, that's kind of like it's a little overboard for me. But overall, I think it's a really it's a pretty good movie for what it is. Of course, a lot of returning actors from the previous two movies. We get Dag Fark, I think that's how you say his name, is young Michael. Of course, Sherry Moon is Deborah Myers. William Forsythe, Ronnie White. Hannah Hall as Judith. Richard Lynch is the principal. Daryl Sabara as Wesley Rhodes. Of course, that's Spy Kid. Yeah. Mr. Spy Kid.
It's Meghan Trainor's husband.
I was going to say, who is now Mr. Trainer.
I am your mother. You listen to me. That's really, she wrote that on a day she was annoyed with him. We all know it.
I guess. I don't know.
No, not
Her
really.
music fucking annoys me.
That's the only song I really like remember all the time. And it's funny.
All about that bass.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that song. See, told you.
And then Malcolm McDowell as Sam Loomis.
Love him.
I do love him. I go in waves on how I feel about his Loomis, but Malcolm McDowell, that was fantastic. Brad Dourif, Mr. Chucky himself, as the Sheriff Brackett. Tyler Mane is adult Michael Myers, who I think does a fucking fantastic job. Like, he doesn't have to do anything. He just stands there and he's fucking terrifying. So definitely like that. Udo Kerr as Morgan Walker. Clint Howard as Dr. Complinson. Danny Trejo back as Ishmael Cruz, who has the saddest death in this movie.
I don't remember.
So he's the one that takes care of Michael. Like, he obviously works at the institution or whatever. So he takes care of Michael the whole time. And when Michael is obviously an adult and breaks out, he like takes his head and like dunks him in the water and like beats the hell out of him. And then Danny Trejo's just like on the ground and he's like, Mikey, I took care of you. Like,
yeah,
he's like pleading, and then Michael just takes the TV off the wall and fucking stews his ass.
It's because Mikey doesn't care.
Yeah, Mikey don't care. And I was like, oh, like Danny making me feel things and stuff. It was sad. Lou Temple back as Noel. Bill Moseley is in the theatrical version. He's one of the guards. Zach Z-Man Garrett, as well as Leslie Easterbrook, is also in the theatrical version as one of the guards. And then, of course, Scout Taylor Compton is Laurie Strode, who I think does an amazing job. Danielle Harris back from Halloween 4 and 5, which I always thought that was pretty cool, that she's Annie in this one. Christina Klebe as Linda. Skylar Gisondo is Tommy Doyle, and he's the young kid from Santa Clarita Diet.
Yeah.
Which was a fun little fact to learn. Dee Wallace is Mrs. Strode, so everyone's favorite mom. Great casting there. Ken Foray is Big Joe Grizzly, and Sid Haig as Chester Chesterfield. He's the one that takes Loomis to Judy's grave and then finds that it's been robbed. He says, these goddamn kids.
Goddamn kids.
Damn Sid. But yeah, so first Halloween, good time. I enjoyed it. I want to say I saw it in theaters, probably, but yeah, overall I like it. If you don't like it, watch the original.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's lots of options.
There are lots of options. Many Halloweens out there. So 2009.
Hate it. Watched it
Wow.
once. That's all I'll
That's
say.
it. Just once. You're one of those people. Halloween 2.
I absolutely I watched it and I was like, I do not like this movie at all. Like it was just not the interpretation for me. Like I didn't need to watch it again. I didn't need to give it a second chance. Nothing. I was like, no, thank you.
What if you watched it again though? Maybe you'd like it.
I doubt it.
Wow.
I doubt it. The
There's
whole
so much,
like
there's
Sherry
so many
Moon's
good things.
whole like role in that
Well, yeah.
annoyed me that much that I don't ever want to watch
There's
it again.
so many good things in this movie though.
I mean, there's so many good things, but like many movies, one bad thing can ruin the whole thing to ever want to go back to it. And this is just one of those movies I don't care to ever watch it again.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So Halloween 2, Laurie Strode struggles to come to terms with her brother Michael's Michael's deadly return to Haddonfield. Meanwhile, Michael prepares for another reunion with his sister. So yeah, there's a lot of good in this movie, and then there's some bad for sure. Now I'm all about Cherry Moon being in Rob's movies. I completely understand it. Like she's not an actress in any other movie.
Mm-mm.
And the people that complain about Rob always casting her, like it's his wife. Like
it depends on what the role is.
Well, I look at it this way. Rob is already a huge star doing music, so he's making movies that he wants to make.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a issue with him wanting to cast his wife. It's just there's certain roles, and I'm like, she's just not that perfect person. She could have done something else.
Yeah,
and that's where it bugs me. And then I'm like, there's so many good people out there to have a leading lady role in his movies that would just leaps and bounds do that role justice, but it doesn't take away that she still could do something and make an impact in a movie. That's all where I'm at. Like I'm happy to have her in the films, whatever. And there's one role, and I know you know which one it is that I'm extremely particular about, and it's a reason why I haven't watched it. But like if you were a big movie or music star and did movies as your wife, I would not want you to cast me as the leading lady because I am your wife. And that is kind of the vibes you get from it. Because I am your wife, I'm the leading lady. And again, that's it. They're his movies. He gets to make the decision he wants to.
Right.
But it takes away from other people that aren't super duper famous, but are good actors that could do more justice to a role than others. So, you know, a bit of a perspective. You can feel both ways.
I get it. But yeah, I mean, sure, it's whatever between them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me though. But yeah, so what does bother me though is bringing her back for this movie.
Yes. This is one of the ones that I'm like, this is like stupid. Like there was no reason.
If there was a good reason for it, I'd be fine with it. But I mean, I guess there's I get the reasoning behind it somewhat, but bringing her back meant that they had to recast young Michael because Dag was he grew, he had a growth spurt, so he was way too big to reprise the role. So they had to recast that role. The kid that they chose doesn't look anything like Dag. The acting, I mean, for the few scenes we get, not the best. So if we didn't bring Cherry Moon back, we could have just skipped the whole recasting young Michael.
And the movie would have been a lot better.
It would have been. And then the whole White Horse thing, which is kind of hand in hand with
I hate it.
with Cherry Moon coming back. So yeah, that was my biggest complaint with the movie as well. Why I didn't like it as much as I could have. But looking past all that, I love the character of Laurie, because she's very, very broken, very much PTSD, and like they don't hide it. And we've never seen that version of Laurie.
Right.
Because Jamie Lee Curtis is just, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis.
A goddess. She's like, I don't suffer. I just keep going.
She's a fucking toll bag, is what she is. She owes her entire career to horror movies and talks shit on horror movies. So,
yeah, well, you know,
not a huge fan of that one. Regardless, though, I think Scout Taylor did a great job acting that way. And then, of course, we get more cool actors. Right off the bat, Dayton Cali, who plays the coroner in this movie, he's Unzer in Sons of Anarchy. So fantastic actor. Richard Brake, his first Rob Zombie movie, is the coroner's buddy, Gary Scott. So they don't have a whole lot of screen time, but it's cool kind of seeing the introduction of Richard Brake into the zombie universe. Caroline Williams, Stretch from Texas Chainsaw 2, is Dr. Maple. I can't fucking read or speak today. Award-winning Octavia Spencer.
Yes.
Is Nurse Daniels. Margot Kidder is the therapist, Barbara Collier. Jeff Daniel Phillips, his first role in one of Zombies movies as Howard and Uncle Seymour Coffins. Daniel Roebuck is Big Lou. Chris Hardwick is back as David Newman. And Weird Al plays himself. And then Sean Whalen, everyone's favorite horror actor, Sean Whalen, is Bex in this. And Sean Whalen is, of course, Roach from The People Under the Stairs.
Oh, okay.
He's also in Twister and 100 other movies. But yeah, so this one, I like Laurie. I like that Annie's back in this one. Like, she didn't die in the first one, like the original. So she's back.
Yeah.
So we get that kind of fucked up family dynamic. Not a fan of Loomis in this one. Nothing against Malcolm McDowell. I'm just not a fan of the character.
Yeah.
But it's way more brutal. A lot of people didn't like it, but I like the fact that he doesn't have a mask on, and that his mask gets all fucked up and like kind of half see his face.
Mm-hmm.
I like that aspect of it. It's different. So yeah, it could have been really, really good. But yeah, the whole white horse bringing Sherry back for it.
Sean Whalen was on a TikTok live like back in probably 2020 now and said hi to me because I commented and he said hi to me. So that's all I got from Halloween too. Yeah. I was like, yes, he read it. Woohoo!
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I loved him in Twister.
Yeah, I love him.
But I just love that whole movie. It's like one of my favorite movies ever.
How do you feel about the sequel?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to watch it just to see it, but like, if they don't put the cow scene in as a nod to the first one, I'll be very upset.
There's no sharks in it.
No
Helen Hunt.
But there's cows and twisters and sharks in are in NATOs. I guess
NATOs,
same things, but
NATOs.
But for me, I'm like, they're not even tornadoes. They're like hurricane, like water spouts. Not, but you know, I digress. We're talking about Rob Zombie films here.
No Bill Paxton. Not for me. So as soon as Zombies film Halloween 2 was released in theaters in 2009, the Weinstein Company immediately wanted to move forward on a Halloween 3, a movie that both the studio and the director's fans wanted him to make. Halloween 3, nothing to do with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch from 1982, was to follow the continuity of Zombies' two Michael Myers movies and star Scout Taylor Compton was called by the studio to reprise her role as Laurie Strode again. So Halloween 3 was actually roundly rejected by Zombie from the very start. He was quoted on MTV saying, "No, I could not see that in any shape, way, or form. Never." Zombie was pretty definitive. For a while, a new director, Patrick Lussier, was meant to take up the project intended to make Halloween 3D in 2011. Even though a script was written, the project never properly came together, and Zombie moved on to The Lords of Salem in 2012. So I remember hearing about all that it was supposed to be a 3, and then he was like, fuck no, because he didn't want to make 2 to begin with.
Yeah.
And then I think like he ended it on like everything's pretty much ended. Like the ending of 2 is kind of left up to like, is Laurie alive or is she dead? But other than that, everything, like all loose ends are tied up. So Good thing there wasn't Halloween 3. So also in 2009 was The Haunted World of El Super Beasto, which is a cartoon that he made about a washed-up luchador and a super spy investigate Nazi zombies, nefarious scientists, and a stripper with a satanic birthmark. So I just watched this again last night.
I've actually never watched it.
I don't think you like it.
Probably not.
It's like I said, it's animated. It's very crude, over the top, but it is
That
cool
stuff
because
doesn't bother me.
Yeah, but it's very like kind of annoying. I mean, we have it, so you could watch it. But yeah, it's cool because there's so many different aspects of all his work up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So like Otis and Captain Spaulding are in it, and there's kind of alludes to like the werewolf women of the SS. There's a lot of that storyline in there. El Super Beasto is played by Tom Papa. Sherry Moon Zombie plays Susie X. Paul Giamatti is Dr. Satan, a very different Dr. Satan than what we saw in House of Thousand Corpses. Ken Forey, Luke St. Luke. Rosario Dawson is Velvet Von Black. Tom Kenny does numerous voices in this. SpongeBob himself.
He's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, right. Cassandra Peterson, who of course is Elvira,
Mm-hmm,
voices
mm-hmm.
Amber, Harlan Williams, Clint Howard, Brian Posehn, Jeffrey Lewis, Danny Trejo, and Dan Roebuck. So, yeah, that one's fun, but it's definitely not for everybody. Like I said, it's very out there. A lot of cartoon nudity, and I don't know, it's fun. So in a 2009 article on the playlist, Zombie talked about an upcoming film he was making called Tyrannosaurus Rex, a high-octane movie which he called a cross between Straight Time and Raging Bull. In that same article, the film was described as a Hicksploitation film set in the 70s that, quote, deals with a washed-up ex-con prizefighter wandering into the world of underground bare-knuckle brawling. Despite the name, Tyrannosaurus Rex was not going to feature any dinosaurs. It was to be a raw, grindhouse-style fight movie. The film was to be based on a comic book that Zombie had made with Steve Niles back in 2004 called The Nail, which was published by Dark Horse Comics. Eventually, the project fell through because, according to a Bloody Disgusting interview, it was simply too expensive. So that one was one I had never heard of before. So that was interesting. You want to read the next one?
The next paragraph you got, is that what you're asking me to? Okay. Another cold trail offered by Variety was a 2009 announcement that Zombie was to direct an additional remake to the 1958 film The Blob, which I love that movie. The 1958 film. A film that had already been remade in 1988. Didn't like that one as much. As with several of his previous projects, The Blob was to be written and directed by Zombie and aimed to be different than either the Irvin Yeaworth or the Chuck Russell versions. Zombie said in the Variety article that his goal was to not to have a big red blobby thing. That's the first thing I want to change. The gigantic jello-looking thing might have been scary to audiences in the 1950s, but people would laugh now. What Zombie intended for the Blob other than a blob is unclear. Zombie said that the Blob was going to be his opportunity to break out of horror, picturing the movie as a classic sci-fi alien invasion film, a slightly different animal. It seems that Zombie eventually lost interest, however, and the Blob was left behind. At last report, Simon West was set to remake The Blob, but nothing has been heard from that project since 2015. News just dropped a few weeks ago that we are getting a new version of The Blob from director David Bruckner.
Yep.
The only thing I can say about that is, like, it's called The Blob. Like, how do you get away from it being a jello-like blob? Substance is really beyond me. I'm like, you kind of have to, like, it kind of goes with the name. So maybe that's why it ever was just like, he couldn't think of something to tie the name and the point of the movie to what he was maybe envisioning. I don't know, but we'll never know now.
That was definitely one
unless he writes to us, emails us, and says, "Hey, this is what I was going to go with." So
when he's on the show, we'll ask about it.
We have hopes and dreams here,
right? But yeah, that was one that I had heard about him making forever.
Yeah.
For a while. So, funny enough, I just watched The Stuff the other day.
Stuff.
Which is a like watered down version, an edible version of the Blob, with very little blood or gore. So yeah, the 1950 ones is classic. I do like the 80s one though.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like it like the classic.
But, oh yeah, but it's like bloody, gory.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking Matt Dillon and
there's just something about
Kevin
like
Dillon.
1950s horror sci-fi movies that I just like. I love them. Like they're so with what little they had to work with to make those type of films. I'm like, these are excellent.
Right.
Excellent.
But yeah, I think both Blob movies are good, and I'm excited for the Bruckner one because he does some dark shit. So
I'll just have you keep me updated.
Yes,
as normal.
As normal. Smash.
Boom.
So 2012, The Lords of Salem.
So I was gonna say my very quick opinion is altogether it's not like a top favorite of mine, but I also didn't hate this movie. Going back to Sherry Moon, this is one of the films that I'm like, she is her as Baby, like she 1,000% was meant to be Baby. And I'm sure he wrote it specifically for her, but she is the person that needed to be that role. I feel the same as her character in this, that I thought she did a really good job. This is another one that I'm like, absolutely, like nobody else could have done it the way Rob wanted it done except for her.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's not one of my top favorites, but I don't hate this movie at all.
I love this movie. This one is with House, Devil's Rejects, and Lords of Salem. They're all interchangeable, so they've all been number one at some point.
Okay. I mean, out of zombie movies, I guess it would probably be in the top ones of those, but like just movies altogether this classification, it doesn't come close to a top favorite. Put it that way.
Yeah. No, I love it all together. But yeah, radio DJ Heidi is sent a box containing a record, a gift from the Lords. The sounds within the grooves trigger flashbacks of her town's violent past. Is Heidi going mad, or are the Lords back to take revenge on Salem, Massachusetts? So yeah, this one is just like, I mean, obviously all of his movies kind of take place in the 70s. This one feels the most like like a 70s horror movie to me. Just with like the quick like cuts and like the random weird shit that he like just puts up on the screen.
I mean, I feel like the Devil's Rejects and House are also like just by watching it are very 70s, but yeah.
Yeah. This one has just always stuck out as being very like it feels most like a 70s horror movie. So of course Sherry is Heidi Hawthorne, Jeff Daniel Phillips is Herman. A little foreshadowing there. Herman Whitey Salvador. Ken Foray is Herman Jackson. Bruce Davison is Francis Matthias. Meg Foster. Margaret Morgan. Meg Foster has the coolest fucking eyes. I just have to say. Like, she's in They Live with Roddy Piper. She was just in Leviathan, or not just in, but I just watched Leviathan recently that she was in. But yeah, she has like the coolest, like you would think they were contacts, but they're just so fucking blue.
Well, I dare say that yours are a lot like that.
No,
though.
Not like
yours
hers.
Are that light blue though.
Not like hers. Like hers glow.
Yeah, but you have pretty light blue eyes.
Oh, thank you. Dee Wallace is back as
Sunny.
Yeah.
I think a lot of hers has to do with the color of her hair, though. Like she's got really dark hair, and it's always, long. So they really pop too. But hers are a very, very, very light blue.
They are.
Yes.
But yeah, Dee Wallace as Sunny, Judy Geeson as Lacey Doyle, and Patricia Quinn as Megan. They're the three ladies that live upstairs. Patricia Quinn, of course, is Magenta in Rocky Horror Picture Show. Michael Behrman again. Sid Haig is back in as well in a quick little flashback scene. Lisa Marie is Priscilla. Of course, Lisa Marie from Mars Attacks and Sleepy Hollow. John Five is Halvard the Guardian. Of course, John Five was the guitar player for Rob Zombie at this time. He's now in Motley Crue. And then Piggy D was the bass player. He plays Butcher Olaf. And my favorite, Barbara Crampton, in a very small role as Virginia Cable, but Barbara Crampton's one of my all-time favorite actresses. As well as Clint Howard, Udo Kerr, Richard Lynch, Daniel Roebuck. They all make uncredited appearances in this as well. But yeah, it's just a cool little like witch, satanic
Salem, Massachusetts type.
Fun little,
yeah.
Little horror movie.
Yeah. Like I said, it's one of those, like, not a top, but I absolutely don't hate that movie at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely one of those movies too that have very weird things in it. And so if that's not your jam, then you're not going to like the movie either.
Right.
So, and that's okay. But like, you just have to kind of go with the flow of the weird that is zombie. And then you'll realize it's actually a pretty decent movie. So
yeah, there's a lot of cool visuals in this one.
Yeah. And this is one of the ones I think I had to watch it a second time to like it. The first time I was just like, that is really like kind of off-putting weird. Once you watch it a second time and you catch some of the other little things in it, then you're like, okay, actually, I don't hate this movie. So that definitely was a watch twice for me.
For sure. He also wrote a like a novel version of this.
Okay.
That goes a little more in depth, explains some more things.
Yeah, I mean, you always have to shorten it for a movie. So
yeah, well, I mean, he did it after the movie.
Yeah, but I just mean like what I'm sure he had the story already in its head, but you have to cut those things out. Which, yeah.
But yeah, it's a really good read. I read it years ago. Need to get it again. But yeah, anyone who was like kind of on the fence, definitely check out the novel. It'll help you understand things a little bit more and hopefully like the movie a bit more. So prior to the production of 31 in 2016, Zombie had spent years fighting tooth and nail to secure funding for a dream project of his called Broad Street Bullies, a sports movie about the notorious 1974 Philadelphia Flyers. In the 70s, the infamous hockey team had earned the titular nickname for their tendency to fistfight on the ice and off it.
Still do.
Yeah, well, not quite like this.
Maybe not off it, but they still fight on the ice.
Right.
Yeah, but I know.
So in an interview with Marker Zone, Zombie recalls how impressed he was with the Flyers' brazen intimidation tactics and brutal violence. Quote, "It was about the 1974 Philadelphia Flyers. The true story is so insane that you can't believe it's real. They were a fledgling team. Nobody cared, so they basically built a team of tough guys. They won the Stanley Cup twice based on being so terrorizing other teams were scared to play them." He said, you go back and watch the fights that took place during those seasons. They literally went into the crowd and they're fighting with fans. And it doesn't seem like good-natured. Like, quote, we're going to go. It's like gripping someone by the hair and punching them in the face until their teeth are all gone type fighting. So in a Q&A following a Fathom event screening of 31, Zombie remembered the moment he gave up on Bullies. He claims to have been on the phone with a potential investor, pitching the movie as hard as he could, when he sensed the lack of interest in their voice. He says he covered the phone, turned to his wife, and declared that he would immediately get funding for the dumbest thing he could come up with on the top of his head. His clown stalk people on Halloween idea was picked up. It looks like Bullies was too high concept. So, excuse me, although the trail has run cold on the project, it was announced in Variety in 2014 that Zombie was to direct a TV miniseries based on the infamous 1969 Manson murders, using a script written by Bret Easton Ellis of American Psycho fame. So the Manson killings are the stuff of common Hollywood lore and have formed the basis of many feature films, not least of which were Jim Van Bever's harrowing The Manson Family in 1997 and Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in 2019. According to the Variety article, the miniseries was to feature shifting perspectives on the murders, very much like Tarantino's movie would. So evidently, Zombie and Ellis were copacetic on the project, with Zombie saying, quote, "I have been obsessed with this insane story since I was a kid. So obviously, I jumped at the chance to be involved in this incredible project. After speaking with Bret, I immediately realized that we shared the same vision for this epic madness, and yet it simply dried up and the project went all helter-skelter." So yeah, another project down.
It happens a lot in Hollywood, so.
Yeah, the Broad Street Bullies one was another one that I heard forever that he was trying to make.
That is one that I would have probably loved to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's funny because, I mean, here we are in what year? 2024.
That's it.
And, the Flyers are still known as being like that fighting hockey team. Like, that reputation has really never fully died.
Right.
Ever. Minus like they don't really fight with fans or anything anymore, but they're rough and tough on the ice compared to a lot of teams. So I think it would have been a good one.
Yeah. I would still love to see it. Much as I hate the Flyers, I would love to see a movie about the Broad Street Bullies.
Yeah.
Though. Be a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
And it'd be interesting to see Rob Zombie do like that kind of movie.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Obviously, it'd still be violent, but it wouldn't be.
It'd be not remotely
different.
Horror.
Yeah, it'd be very different from what he usually does. So that leads us to 31. So in 2016, so it was about 5 carnival workers are kidnapped and held hostage in an abandoned, hellish compound where they are forced to participate in a violent game, the goal of which is to survive 12 hours against a gang of sadistic clowns. I just watched this again today.
It's another one that, don't hate it at all. It's on the list, but I don't have a strong opinion one way or another until we get to the very end.
Fair enough. So 31, I love 90% of this movie.
Yeah.
It's this kind of goes right in line with the rest of his movies. It's a group of kind of not white trash, but kind of white trash. People going somewhere. They get essentially kidnapped and have to play this game. But once we get into that part, I love it. It has the best opening of any movie, like one of the best. Like fucking Richard Brake's dialogue is fantastic. So for it to kick off like that is just great. Then we meet the characters, and then once we get to the kind of 31 portion of it, I really like the concept.
Yeah.
Like we go through, we meet Poncho Moeller as Sickhead, and then we get to the brothers Schizo Head and Psycho Head, David Uri and Lou Temple. E.G. Daly's back as Sex Head.
Yep.
She's joined with Torsten Voorhees as Death Head. They're the duo in that one, and he is. I don't know if you've ever seen Funny People.
I feel like I have.
It's the Adam Sandler, Seth Rogen movie.
Yeah.
Well, when Adam Sandler goes to the doctor and is told that he has cancer, Torsten is the doctor.
Okay.
And they make a joke about being told by the villain in Die Hard.
Oh.
Because he has the long blonde hair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's that guy. And then, so Tracy Walter, we see him in the beginning of the movie as Lucky Leo. He kind of works at the gas station. But that's Bob from Batman, like the 89.
OG Batman, yeah,
like Joker's right hand man,
yeah,
like Bob,
OG,
God.
yeah.
That's Tracy Walter. Of course, Daniel Roebuck is the pastor at the very beginning. Doomhead is giving his speech to. But yeah, so we get all the main actors again: Sherry, Jeff Daniel Phillips, Meg Foster, Malcolm McDowell as Father Murder.
I loved him as that.
Right, he was really good.
That was a good one.
But yeah, so I really like all of this. Like we go through it all. It's brutal. It's fucked up. But then the end is where I didn't like it.
The same with me.
Yeah, we watched it together.
Yeah. Well, and you've watched it since then, but
right. So yeah, I can get through all of it. I really enjoy all of it up until the end, and I'm like, because there's no like
end
really.
Well, and for me. It could do with, again, maybe it's Sherry's acting in this one or something, but it's almost like this preemptive of like what happened to her that could have flipped a switch to make her baby. Like all this crazy traumatic shit happens, and she's this one that, out on the road at the end, and like, I'm like, this would have been a great, like, Sid as the clown roll up in his van and say, like, come on in, and it kind of flow into this like unknown prequel to House.
Right.
Because it really sets it up great for it, because the character in 31, like, what is it? Charlie? Mm-hmm. Is it Charlie? Yeah. Okay. Charlie is very similar to Baby without the psychoness.
Right. She's on the other side of it.
Something like this could have easily made you a psycho and be a reason why you are the way you are now.
Right.
And I'm like, man, you had such a great opportunity, and it would have made for a more wrapped up ending to the movie as well. Like, okay, like you could kind of let it be what it was.
Yeah.
And understand a little bit more, because otherwise you kind of leave it where you're like, what the hell? Like, okay.
Yeah, it just kind of ends.
Like,
Yeah.
and
Right. Yeah.
So,
but no, yeah, I agree. If there wasn't already the lore to baby and the family,
yeah,
it would have.
You can do whatever
been,
you want though, lore or no lore,
But it there was definitely similarities between those characters. So yeah, it could have been a cool little like surprise. It's a prequel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Zombie and Groucho Marx may not be as mismatched as they look on paper. Obviously, because he named all the Firefly after Groucho characters. One came to prominence as a monster face shock rocker. The other was a vaudeville comedian who riffed on human language as if it were on,
his own to control.
Yeah, you take over for a minute.
Okay. But both seemed inspired by an impish need to subvert. While Zombie was in production of 31, he had announced that his next film would be a biopic of Marx set in the 1970s, leading up to the comedian's death. Zombie himself, 57, frequently casts older actors in his movie, 31 and The Lords of Salem in particular. So a biography of an older Groucho is in keeping with his habits. The film was to be based on Steve, how do you say his last name?
Stolier's?
Stolier's 1996 book, Raised Eyebrows, My Years Inside Groucho's House, and was to be based on the exploitation of Marx at the hands of Aaron Fleming, his manager at the end of his life. A similar approach, it seems, to Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, which tells the story of the king through the eyes of the colonel, his own notorious manager. Zombie eventually fell away from the project, but the Raised Eyebrows movie is still moving forward with director Oren Moverman and with Jeffrey Rush set to play Groucho, which I love that. Like, I love Jeffrey Rush.
Yeah, I don't know how long ago that was written, if that's still true or not. But
yeah.
Mayhaps.
Last report.
Last report. That's right. So 2019, 3 from Hell. You didn't watch this yet, did you?
I have not, because part of it is I know it's the end of that story, and if you don't watch it, it's not the end for you yet.
Fair enough.
You're not there yet, and I'm like, oh man, and
it could or could not be the end.
Well, fair enough too, but
it
also
is the end of Spawning.
Well, I was gonna say, no matter what, like Sid passed shortly after the release, and I just kind of don't want the story to end just yet, and one day I'll get there.
Yeah,
reviews are mixed about it too.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise, but yeah, we'll get into that. So yeah, 3 from Hell. After barely surviving prison, the demented Firefly clan go on the run, unleashing a whole new wave of murder, madness, and mayhem. So of course, Sherry, Bill, and Sid return. But yeah, people give this one shit. And because people don't look into anything and they just assume, Captain Spaulding's barely in it. So this movie sucks.
Well, he was really sick, people.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, it took so long for Rob to get this finally into production, for whatever reason. I'm sure probably financing and studio and everything like that he had a whole different movie written.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I would love to know what he had planned.
Yeah.
Because by the time they started shooting, Sid was sick, obviously. But every time that they came back to shoot, he was more sick and more sick. So Rob had to keep cutting that role down, so that by the end, we got what we got, because that's all Sid could do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was the best he could give.
Yeah, like he's literally a skeleton of a man. He's sitting down most of the time, and that little clip I played at the beginning of this was from that. It's just him doing an interview, and then essentially they put him to death.
Yeah.
So that sucks, but like he did what he could do with it. But then, so obviously Sid's gone, and Richard Brake kind of fills in as the third person then. So he is Winslow Foxworth Coltrane. The movie itself I enjoy it. It's not quite up there with the other two. But I mean, given the circumstances, it's good for what it is. It's brutal, and still have those characters, so that's fun.
Yeah.
And so like I said, yeah, Richard Brake is in it. Jeff Daniel Phillips is the warden. Emilio Rivero, who plays Marcus Alvarez in Sons of Anarchy, is in this one. He's kind of the villain to the villains. Poncho Muller, Dee Wallace. Dee Wallace is great in this. She's like a fucking terrible prison guard. And it's just a good time. And Sean Whalen is back in this. Danny Trejo is Rondo again in this one for a minute. So yeah, it kind of I mean, obviously the Devil's Rejects ends, you think they're dead. So it kind of you have to kind of stretch the imagination a bit to the fact that they all survived. But other than that, it's another brutal, fun time. So I think it's better than what most people give it credit for.
Yeah. I'll watch it eventually.
Yeah, one day.
One day.
So then we get to his last movie.
That I won't watch.
Yep.
One day I'll watch it. Okay, yeah, it's like I'll watch it eventually. But this is the movie that I hold the most opinion to.
But you've never seen.
But I've never seen. But regardless, I can still hold the opinion I have that Sherry Moon Zombie should not have been cast as Lily. She could have been cast as an entirely different character, because Marilyn is not even in the movie from just looking at your roles. So if you're going to leave a main character out of the TV show, then you could have just written a whole different character to your own will. But just full disclosure, I am a huge fan of the Munsters, like huge fan. And I mean, that's one of those things I always say, like, if I ever met Rob Zombie, that would be the conversation I have with him. Like, not music, not his own written films, nothing. I would want to talk to the Munsters because I know how big of a fan he has always been. But for me, Lily is just, she is meant to be portrayed as a bit younger than what Sherry is, which, not trying to sound ageist, even though it does. But just her character in a whole is not the vibes you get from Sherry in all of the other films that she's been in. You know, like, there's just something about Lily, and her acting vibes just were never that, like, it for me. Now because you've watched it and you told me really she wasn't horrible, terrible, awful in it, and that's great. But for me, in my eyes, like, I feel like there are a ton of actors that really could have embodied the OG Lily to what Rob's Lily was to be, and given that character a lot of justice. That this is where I'm like, man, like, this is where the giving other people a chance and writing something really cool that could have been incorporated into the story for your wife. But this one feels in particular like you gave that role to your wife because she's your wife. But again, he can do what he wants. They're his movies. I don't have to like it either. You know, like, right. End of the day, I'm like, well, I don't have to like it, but I really want to because I know how much you love the Munsters as much as I love the Munsters, being Rob, not you. I
mean, also love the Munsters.
Well, yeah,
so.
But I'm just saying, like, as the person that made the film, like, that's why I really want to like it, because I'm like, I know how much he loves the Munsters, and I feel like there is a huge appreciation there that can make those type of films even better. But for me, like, Lily just ain't it, in my opinion. But one day, and I can't speak on the film itself because I haven't watched it, but I will one day, and I could feel very differently, or I could still feel the same. It's hard to say.
So yeah, this is another one. This is one that gets the most hate that I've noticed, and couple thoughts that I have. So obviously we're both huge Monster fans. So I went into this expecting to hate it. And I didn't. I thought it was fine for what it was. It's not great, but it's like there's not gonna be anyone who can do Lillian Herman the same as Yvonne and Fred Gwynn.
No.
So that's already off the table. So knowing that Rob and Sherry are both huge Monsters fans, sure there's probably other people that could do a better Lily, but I'm under the impression, and I could be wrong, that when he started making movies, he had two passion projects, Monsters and Broad Street Bullies. So if he got to make the Monsters, I feel like it was probably like, we're going to do this together and you'll be Lily.
Yeah, I mean, and had it not been 2022 that they had to wait so long.
Regardless, I mean, and it's not like she's like, it's has nothing to do with the story at all. Like,
no, I'm not saying it does.
Old or young, like appearance wise, she looks fine for the movie. And it's a kind of prequel to the show, but I mean, they're all kind of undead anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
I guess that's where I get like the younger vibes from, because they're undead. So I mean, all of us age. So again, I'm not trying remotely to be ageist about it. But it's like, if you're gonna make an undead thing, you're not gonna make them look. I mean, I would want you to make me look like 20-year-old me over 50-year-old me,
right.
You know? So it's like, there's those things about it.
But yeah, I think she did a fine job. The voice was not the best. I wasn't a huge fan of the way that she talks.
I remember that from the trailers too, that I was not a fan.
But again, I feel like obviously it's not going to be the original, but out of all the other shit monster stuff we've gotten through the years, this is still way better than all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, like you said, like he's a huge Monsters fan, so he did with it what he wanted to do, and
yeah, absolutely. And Butch is back in it, which is awesome.
Yeah, Butch Patrick and Pat Priest both make little voice cameos. So yeah, it's like I said, it's not the best. It's from this, probably outside of Halloween 2, it might be the worst, quote unquote. But it's still fine. It's not terrible at all.
One day I'll watch it, and then when I'm back on, I'll give you my quick snippet review follow up.
Fair enough. So that's the movies we have. But after last week's conversation with the Firefly family tree, I did find some information.
Okay.
That might help clear some stuff up. Now, the bulk of this information was provided on the discontinued The Devil's Rejects official website, which is no longer available. So none of the historic details were chronicled in the films. But so this is as close as we'll get without Rob Zombie being on the show.
Right. One day.
And
I will watch The Monsters by that point.
Okay.
And 3 from Hell, just so we can all have the same conversation.
Okay. So the Firefly family is a clan of loosely related individuals who existed as brutal, violent serial killers in the town of Rugsville, Texas throughout the 70s. Their actual surnames are unknown. They began using the Firefly alias at the suggestion of a man who called himself Otis B. Driftwood. All the family members, including Otis, adopted aliases based upon film characters originally portrayed by comedian Groucho Marx. The Firefly name came from a character named Rufus T. Firefly from the 1933 film Duck Soup.
And see, this is why you could have connected 31. Like, got the aliases, we've got all this. So, go on.
So, the eldest member of the group was a man known affectionately as Grandpa Hugo. So very little is known about the individual, save that he is likely the father of Eve Wilson, who had since adopted the nickname Mother Firefly. So, of course, Grandpa from House. The actor Dennis Frimple passed away shortly after the filming, so he's not in any of the other movies. But yeah, so he would be the Grandpa, Mother Firefly's father. Let's see. So it's believed that Grandpa Hugo may have had some connection to a psychotic surgeon named S. Quentin Quayle, who carved himself legendary status under the pseudonym Dr. Satan. Some sources suggest that Hugo may have actually been Dr. Satan, while others assert that he masqueraded as him on occasion. So, Eve Wilson.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, please.
Eve Wilson, a.k.a. Mother Firefly, was a former prostitute who had sired children through various fathers. One of these men, presumably named Rufus, gave her a son who was known as Rufus Firefly Jr. or RJ. Another man, Earl, who may have been Eve's common-law husband, was the father of Tiny. When Tiny was a young boy, Earl suffered a psychotic break, poured gasoline on his son, and set him on fire. Tiny survived, but suffered third-degree burns over his entire body. Around the year 1947, Eve Wilson was involved with a man named Johnny Lee Cutter Johns. Together, they had a daughter named Vera Ellen, which that's really funny. That's his nod to White Christmas, Vera Ellen. Cutter stayed with Eve for some time to help her raise their child, but eventually separated from her to pursue his own ambitions. Cutter eventually became a local celebrity going by the name Captain Spaulding, another Marx reference, and established a roadside attraction known as Captain Spaulding's Museum of Monsters and Madmen. Vera Ellen, nicknamed Baby, remained at home and grew up with her half-siblings Rufus Jr. and Tiny.
All right. So, yeah. So, Captain Spaulding is Baby's dad.
Yeah.
However, which this was news to me. So, at some point in the mid-'60s, the family met Otis B. Driftwood. Otis quickly became very close with Eve Wilson, Cutter, and Baby, insinuating himself into the family. He often bickered with Cutter over who should be the authoritative figure in the household. It was Otis who convinced the others to assume aliases based on Groucho Marx characters. Rumor has it that Otis and Vera Ellen joined a cult worshipping Dr. Satan, but were later kicked out after Otis stabbed a cult leader to death. By the 70s, the Firefly family members had developed a depraved lifestyle which consisted of kidnapping, torture, mutilation, and murder. As late as 1977, the Fireflies were responsible for the disappearance of more than 75 people, most of whom were teenage girls. So Otis is not related.
Right.
He just happened upon them.
He just inserted his
yeah,
psycho with their psycho.
They essentially adopted him because he acted just like them, his homicidal ways.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Earl, the father of Tiny, is the professor.
Okay.
It doesn't say it in here, but I'm pretty positive that in the movie when they're saying about Earl setting him on fire, it shows the professor. So I'm pretty sure that I was correct about that. But yeah, so Mother Firefly just got around.
Yeah. Well, she was a prostitute and it happens.
Yeah.
No hate on sex workers.
No, not at all.
Psycho ones, maybe a little bit. Murderous ones, I might have a little bit of a judgment, but
yeah. So Baby is officially the daughter of Mother Firefly and Captain Spaulding, and Otis is just there. He's just a drifter. At least according to this.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, if anyone has any connection to Rob Zombie, I'd love to have him on to clarify all that.
Yeah, and I would clarify too, like Sherry Moon, zero hate on you. I think you're an excellent actress for your husband's movies. I just have to hate on certain choices. That's all.
It happens.
And it's hate towards Rob too, so it's all equal hate,
I have no hate.
No, I don't really have like true hate, just opinions.
Yeah.
But they aren't directed just to Sherry.
My only complaint is Halloween 2 and the white horse and everything that entailed. Other than that, though, huge fan of Rob Zombie. There's nothing upcoming that I could find. Obviously, he's going on tour here in a few months.
Yeah, with Alice.
But other than that, nothing movie-wise that's in the works, unfortunately. So hopefully we get another Rob Zombie movie here sooner rather than later.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure the strike had stuff to do with that too, and push stuff. Yeah. And, they're still trying to recuperate after all of that. So we might hear something eventually, and
hopefully
maybe after the tour, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I would love more Rob Zombie movies
Yeah,
because I'm a
absolutely.
fan. Like I said before, they're not always the best movies, but they're always entertaining.
Yeah.
And
And like I said, the two movies that I haven't watched, I eventually will. And a time that I'm on, I will give full opinions. So take 31 and not 31, I'm sorry, 3 from Hell and The Monsters. Take all my opinions with a grain of salt because I haven't watched the movies yet. So I can't really say much.
fair enough. But yeah, I think my voice is about shot.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap it up. So again, I apologize for the gruff voice on this episode.
I was happy to step in and do some of the reading.
Yeah.
Let me do a little bit more this time.
Appreciate your help.
I'm always here for you.
Your
Literally.
voice is a lot better than mine.
All the time, guys.
All the time.
Every day.
You have any final thoughts?
No, I can't wait for our St. Patrick's episode for my connection that I made the other day that I was like, oh, I am saving this. So this is a little sprinkle in about a month. Ooh. Well, a little less than a month.
Yeah.
A couple weeks of something I'm going to be chatting about that is Amazon. What
wow.
the hell?
You're just as fucked up as I am.
Anime connection. There's an anime connection that I like. I can't wait for. So it'll be really fun. It'll be fun.
But yeah, that'll do it for this week. I think next week we're going to have the Unholy Whistle Pig back. Got some fun stuff planned for that.
That'll also be an entertaining one.
Yeah, right. Have an upcoming collab with Pretty Killer Podcast. Not sure when that'll be up and available, but yeah, there's some fun stuff in the works here. So,
and
like I said,
I was gonna say, and I had suggested one of our upcoming ones after St. Patrick's to do some horror anime because I love anime. Everybody, I love it.
Yeah, I need to.
So
I need to watch.
Yeah, we're gonna
4,000 episodes of anime because I don't ever watch anime.
Well, there's movies that aren't just actual, but we can talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about all that. So
but yeah, we got that upcoming. Got the St. Patty's. Tomato will be back here in a few weeks as well to talk about some more 2023 movies that we didn't get to watch in 2023. So yeah, we got some fun stuff planned. So like I said, make sure you're following on the social medias. Follow, like, subscribe, Patreon, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Of course, all the links are listed in the show notes. But yeah, Mrs. Ghoul, my darling.
Yes.
Thank you again for joining
welcome.
me on such short notice.
Absolutely. Guys, it wasn't like terribly short since we lived together. I had a couple days to figure it out.
I had to send you a telegraph.
Yeah. Beep, 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 beep. Morse code.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. But no, thanks again for listening. Until next week, I've been your host, Ian Van Ghoul.
Bye.
Have a ghoulish week. And stay safe out there.
Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you.
There you go. That's it.